Hey, welcome back, Endgame. It's Sunday. You know what that means. 1 week in the books, fantasy baseball. We are a week in. It feels like it's been forever, but I guess that's kind of how baseball rolls. But we are only 1 week in, but it doesn't mean things haven't happened. In fact, we've had some major injuries already. I feel like this is fantasy football, not fantasy baseball. I feel like we're doing a fantasy football like, oh my God, all the running backs are hurt. All the pitchers are hurt. And let's start with the biggest one, the biggest name here, Pierre. The guy who was the number one pitcher in pretty much every draft, maybe the best pitcher in baseball, Spencer Strider, on the IL with a sprained UCL. Now, it's not official that it's a long-term thing, but is it a long-term thing? And what do you do if you got Spencer Strider right
now? Let's see. Panic, scream, crying to a pillow. Like what can you do there? There's no replacing Spencer Strider if you drafted him, but this is like, nobody's happy about this. Nobody, like, even if you hate the Braves or you didn't get Strider or whatever, like, there's nothing good about this. But the people who like can't draft a pitcher early, it's too risky. Those people are at least kind of really tempted to say, I told you so, this is what happens, because we already saw Garrett Cole, the number 2 pitcher, pretty much consensus in fantasy. He's already out half the season. Who knows how long until he's back. So many injuries already. And then now the number 1 guy, the only pitcher I said was even worth a first-round pick, in consideration first-round pick, just by far the best pitcher in fantasy because he strikes out so many batters. And you knew something was wrong if you watched that start. Not that he never has a bad start, but it just didn't look right that last start. He left early, but also velocity was down a little bit. It's also, a warning sign. He did not strike out many batters. And then after the game, sure enough, pulled the old, my elbow's barking, and it's not good. Not good. Look, this just feels like a matter of time, right? With the Yuri Perez thing, people are like, well, what's going to happen? I mean, they waited a week or however long, and then sure enough, Tommy John after the season. Doesn't this just feel inevitable when somebody says it's the UCL and it's a pitcher who happens to be one of the hardest throwing pitchers in the game? I mean, do we really expect the best case scenario here? I think you have to assume the worst. And I think what I saw was the best case scenario was that it's 6 to 8 weeks. Best case, that it's nothing major. And of course, worst case, he's done for the season and into next season. So you just have to prepare for it.
But even 6 to 8 weeks, let's say they say, okay, he doesn't need Tommy John surgery. 6 to 8 weeks, he's back. What's the guarantee that he comes back and it doesn't get worse and then he does need Tommy John surgery? I mean, it just feels like that's how these things go, doesn't it?
Exactly. That's exactly it. And this would be a case of, team wanting to get him back this season. Of course, the Braves won in a World Series. This is a team that should be all in for this year. But of course, Strider, not just their best pitcher, still fairly young. They're not going to risk or compromise his health. The Braves would not do that. So it's just very tricky here. But at the same time, like, what do you do in fantasy with? Obviously, no one's buying him right now, unless they're really, 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 really optimistic, in which case, I guess take advantage of them. But yeah, there's no replacing him. I mean, you're going to have to mix and match on the waiver wire. And so streaming is going to be more important than ever. It doesn't mean you're done. It doesn't mean that's give up on your season. One player, yes, can make a big difference, but it doesn't make or break your team. So don't pack it all in for the season just yet.
Yeah, definitely don't do that. Also, another big injury, a guy who was off to a really good start. Now, you did say he was a sell high, but not because you knew he was going to get hurt, of course.
No.
But that is Shane Bieber, and he is officially out for the season. So people who had Bieber thought, they'd done it. Like, yep, this is it. I got my league winner, and now he's out for the season. What do the people who have Bieber do? What do they do?
Yeah, this one not as devastating because Bieber wasn't, your first pitcher selected. He was, taken later in drafts, and nobody really knew for sure if he was going to bounce back. And again, amazing for 2 starts. This one was more surprising because, yeah, he did have issues last year with injuries, but didn't think that Tommy John was on the table. This kind of came out, not out of nowhere, but still, this was a surprise how quickly this all unfolded. So, yeah, with Bieber, I don't know why, but I always feel like a little guilty, like saying like this guy's gonna like regress or sell now, and then he gets hurt. Like I didn't know that was gonna happen, but I mean, hopefully you sold high if you had him. But yeah, that's brutal too, because it's brutal for the Guardians, who already going to rely on their pitching. Like I said, I'm not impressed with that offense. I really don't know how they're going to get by and try to be a playoff team, especially now. I don't think they will be, which if you look long term, I think they're going to be sellers near the deadline, if they're not even sooner. Gavin Williams, I will say, is the guy that they're going to need. He's not going to come back just yet. He started the season on the IL, one of their talented pitching prospects. We saw a little bit of last year. A little uneven, like young pitchers tend to be. So if he can come back late this month or early May, that could be what they need. They're going to depend on him. So I would say look for him to possibly be a nice source of replacement for those innings. You know, he's probably stashed on IL in a lot of leagues, but still, he's somebody that when he gets back will definitely be a mainstay in the rotation. Temporarily, I'd say, you know, they can't get away with a 4-man rotation. They've got a lot of injuries still. So I think Tyler Beatty, who used to be a starter in San Francisco, has had a ton of injuries himself. I think he might make some starts, or Cade Smith is an interesting name. Again, I'm only talking deep leagues. I'm not saying go out and grab these guys. Just saying those are the guys I think will be starters temporarily until Williams gets back. Beatty and Smith have been decent in the bullpen, but again, that's different from starting. So keep an eye on those guys.
All right, there you go. Now let's get to some good news, because it's not all been bad. Giancarlo Stanton, a guy that you liked in the offseason that you maybe drafted too much of, is getting hot. Just starting to get hot. I mean, I feel like the whole Yankees lineup is pretty hot. Like the whole Yankees are pretty hot. So obviously you like Stanton, you know, during the draft process. Are you all in on Stanton? Are you sort of in on Stanton? How are you feeling about Stanton right now?
Yeah, now I regret saying that I regret drafting him too much, because it's like, you know, you got to stick to your guns. And this is why I'll tell you, look, so the waiver wire video is already out, right? Telling you who you should be picking up for next week. So of course, check that out if you haven't. Now, what I'm going to tell you for tomorrow, you always do like a panic video, the guys who are slumping, whatever. So tomorrow it's going to be just do not panic. Do not drop these guys. Yeah, you could be worried because they're obviously not doing very well, but I'm going to tell you who not to drop. And I was all set to talk about Giancarlo Stanton, and now he proved that he's not going to be dropped, because last 2 games, home run, and then today a grand slam. You know, this is why you keep Giancarlo Stanton. It's exactly what I said on the live show. You remember we talked about him a few days ago, and I think somebody asked about him. This is the guy who, in a matter of 1 or 2 games, all of a sudden, those numbers just jump up. And guess what? This weekend, he did it. So a couple home runs, several RBIs. That's what he gives you. He'll look horrible for a week, and then he'll look like, you know, the best slugger in the league for, you know, a week. So you're going to have to take the downs with the ups, but he is still one of the best sluggers in the game. So don't panic on him for sure. I think that he's still worth holding on to pretty much everywhere.
All right, there you go. So if you have been holding on to him, you should be feeling pretty good. And if you're a Marlins fan, are you feeling good that they finally got the win? Or are you like, is it more just a sigh of relief that they're not going to go 0-162?
That's pretty much, at least now we have no winless teams anymore off the schneid. But man, now you see all this. Now I am worried long term this whole season. Apparently we got a lame duck manager, which all this stuff behind the scenes, you know, when a GM and a manager don't get along, that's never a good sign, right? And so apparently this new GM is just basically stringing along so he can hire his own guy next season. That's why they didn't make any moves. You know, we talk about the Oakland A's or Sacramento A's, whatever they are nowadays. Like it's almost like the plot to Major League, right? They're just throwing all these guys out there just to see if they can tank and drive all the fans away. I almost feel like the Marlins is the same thing. It's like he's setting up Schumacher to fail just so that he can have an excuse to ditch him and get his own guy, which is ridiculous, but whatever. So, but now, honestly, I am worried. that this is just going to be a failed season. And not just because of the lack of moves they made in free agency, but because of that whole thing, right? When the manager's not happy, it spreads, right, throughout the clubhouse. Right. And this tension, you can't say, well, they're professionals, it doesn't make a difference. Of course it makes a difference. So, yeah, I'm still I'm pretty disappointed. I don't know how else to say it. It's annoying. Like, not as if Marlins fans aren't used to disappointment, but still, it's just, you would think coming off a playoff season, it would at least be close to the same, not the worst team in the majors, but yeah.
It's still early. Long. I mean, like, when I say a long way to go, I mean a long way to go.
That could just mean a lot more losses.
Well, but let's try to stay optimistic here. All right, then real quick, because we got questions rolling in, so we don't want to spend too much time here. We want to start getting to your questions. Let's just talk about some of your top ads. If you haven't seen the waiver wire video yet, it's out. Go check it out. Waiver wire for week 2, people you can add. But let's talk about some of your top ads. Starting with Bryce Turang, has 7 steals on the season. Is he your number one, like, must-add guy right now as far as hitters go?
He's got to be. He's not a guy who was really on not just mine, but really anybody's radar, because didn't even know if he's going to be a starter this year. And that even extended opening day, the first couple of games. Like, is Turang going to play or not play? Well, he's playing. He's hitting well, but stealing this many bases, that's not – I mean, he's not a prolific base stealing, threat from, like, since his days in the minors. I mean, yeah, he's got speed, but I don't know if he'll lead the league in steals all season. But obviously, you can't just ignore this. So you need steals, pick them up. Even if you don't need steals, pick them up and trade them to somebody who does. I think now we can start looking a little bit more specifically to category help. Again, don't read too much into a guy who had a 2 home run game and you think that they're going to help you in home runs all season, aka Nick Martini opening day. But still, I'm just saying you can start definitely looking for guys who are running. Jose Siri, another guy, like, pick him up if he's out there. So I think first and foremost, a guy who's running and running well, you can definitely target them.
And Turang, I'm looking on Yahoo, 55% rostered right now, so still out there in almost half of leagues. So go check, see if he's out there, and pick him up if you're looking for steals, or if you just don't want your opponents to have any steals off the waiver wire. And then another guy I know you like, talked about that Yankees lineup. They're hitting the ball pretty well. Oswaldo Cabrera, he's batting .333. He's got 2 home runs. He is rostered currently in 72% of leagues, so not out there quite as much as Turang. But how do you feel about him? Like, is he another guy that if he's somehow on your waiver wire, he needs to be scooped up?
Yeah, it's somebody you probably should be targeting a couple of days ago. If he's still out there, grab him. But yeah, Cabrera, he's doing this. Keep in mind, he's hitting 9th most days, 7th, 8th, or 9th. Just hit 9th, I think, today. But still, it's a good lineup. He's hitting well, and the power is legit. This is somebody who won't help you with steals, but the best part about him is you can slot him anywhere, almost second, third, short, and outfield. I think he qualifies in Yahoo leagues. So just so valuable, and he's definitely going to be the top ad outside of Turang. But again, some guys like this early in the season, you really have to pounce quick because everybody's looking for that hot start, looking for that help. The guy who just got injured, and it'll slow down the next couple of weeks. So I also want to say this is don't go crazy for the first week wonders and don't overpay. Don't blow your fab on. Honestly, in my most competitive league, the TGFBI, first week waiver, first weekend, I guess you could say waivers, I didn't add anybody because I don't want to start spending my hard-earned fab on players I know nothing about outside of what they did for 2-3 games. So you can still be patient, and it's okay.
Yes, and that's definitely true. And now I know a guy that you liked. You talked about him in the preseason. We're going to pitcher now. If you need a pitcher, maybe you lost Strider, maybe you lost Bieber, you need a replacement, or maybe your pitcher just isn't. Your pitchers aren't very good. Jordan Hicks, still available in 33% of Yahoo League. So, again, another guy who's been mostly picked up. This is one of those closers turn starter guys that you talked about a lot in the offseason. But so far, he's 1-0, 2 starts, 1-0. a .75 ERA, a .75 WHIP, 11 strikeouts. Is this for real? Like, is this guy going to win the Cy Young this year? I mean, what's going on? Is this for real or like,
Well, I'll say this. Out of all those numbers, the one that's the most impressive is the fact that he went 7 innings in that game. That's it. He went deep into a game, and that was the number one concern. People is like, this guy used to throwing 1 or 2 innings. He's the last time he was a starter was years ago. A lot of people were just confused in general that they signed him to be a starter. Well, guess what? They knew what they were doing. He's always been a talented pitcher. That's never been the question. The only thing you can really say is, will he be going, you can question, will he be going deep into games? Well, we have our answer. I don't think we have to wait anymore. We have the answer. And then, of course, injury concerns. He's had injuries. He throws 101 miles per hour. Yeah, that could always be a case. But honestly, how many starting pitchers out there now are we not scared to death or going to just, tear their elbow up at this point? Honestly, how many? I mean, who doesn't throw, way too hard compared to what their body is supposed to do naturally? It's just, that's how it is. Like the risk is real no matter what. Unless you're looking at a guy like Martin Perez, like he throws barely 90. Okay, I don't think he's going to get hurt maybe. That's not the kind of player you want in fantasy. He's not going to help you. So I think my answers, my questions have been answered with Hicks. Like I am in on him, just like Garrett Crochet. He was my number 1 waiver wire pick last week. Hicks. Let's stop wondering, oh, will they last? No, look, if he gets hurt, he gets hurt, just like any other pitcher. I'm in.
I mean, yeah, and what's the risk here? You picked him up off the waiver wire. If he gets hurt, okay, fine. Go pick up somebody else. Just take whatever you get from him for as long as you get it.
Yep.
All right. So I think we covered everything. Let's get to these questions. We have a lot of questions. Really quick, I do want to remind everybody, if you have not tried Underdog Fantasy yet for baseball, this is a great time to do it. As you can see, they have pick'ems. They have this everyday pick'ems for players every single day, all sorts of choices. We've kind of broke this down during the week. We went over it individually, but choices for everybody. Still a game tonight if you want to get in on the action. And they're also always giving new customers, whoops, that's the wrong tab. They're always giving new customers specials. Now it's Steph Curry. I know you might not like basketball, but guess what? It's a free square. He only has to get half a point. You don't have to know anything about basketball. You just pick the Steph Curry higher than half a point, and then you go back to Underdog and you pick whatever baseball picks you like, because that's what you know. You know baseball. You try it out. It's a lot of fun. It's easy. You're not going up against sharks. And if you join Underdog, if you haven't tried it yet, go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use our promo code ENDGAME. You get a 100% deposit. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. You get a deposit match of some sort. They're kind of, I don't know, they're experimenting with some stuff, but they're going to match the money you put in. They're going to give you free money, basically. And you can use it to try this out, see how you like it. It's a ton of fun. You can win a lot of money. It doesn't require a huge upfront amount. Like you can wait, you can put as little as what, like $5, $3, $2, $1. I'm not sure. Doesn't require a lot. It's a lot of fun. You can sweat the games every day, even though you do that in fantasy baseball anyway. So check it out, UnderdogFantasy.com, and use our promo code ENDGAME for that deposit match. All right, let's get to the questions now because we got a lot. And let's go way back to almost an hour ago. Tyler is an Ober owner. And looking at the waiver wire, there's Stroman, Singer, Crochet, Waka. Okay, the guy's name out. Waka. The guy's name I never get right. Hook.
I think it's Hauk.
Myers, Gore, Detmers. I mean, there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So are you dropping Ober for any of these guys? And if so, which ones?
Well, you got some good options here. I'll just go back and say the same thing. I'm still in on Crochet. He's still my number 1 pickup. Stroman is very solid ad. I did just pick up Brady Singer. Now, I talked about him on the waiver wire video. If you saw that, he was very, very the last player I talked about. I'm not going crazy for Brady Singer because you got to look at the fact that kind of been here, done that with him. He shows flashes and then he regresses. And He's not a guy. I'm not buying into the strikeouts right now. That's just not his thing, right? He's had a really easy schedule the first 2 games. And even I said, I think when I talked about him, it's like, okay, he's going to face the White Sox on Friday. He faced the White Sox on Friday. Okay, so that's like a free pass. But I think Singer's a solid ad. Look, Chris, you've noticed I just picked him up in our league. I just picked him up. And
yes.
So I'm still going to go Crochet number 1. I'm still going to say Stroman number 2. I like Singer. I like Houck. In fact, somebody later on here is asking about how Detmers looked really good, but I'm going to wait and see on him. I'd say I like Gore next. I talked a lot about Gore this preseason. I might be too high on him, but I think he's solid too. And then I don't know for Myers, you're talking about Max Meyer. He looked good today. So optimistic on him too. So I think you could drop Ober for probably any of those guys, to be honest, except for maybe Waka. But why not wait till tomorrow and see how he does?
You're talking about Ober? Wait till tomorrow for Ober?
Yeah.
Yeah, he pitches tomorrow, right? So, if you got all those guys on waiver, you might as well see how he does tomorrow.
Yeah, because you have so many options. I mean, if you miss out on one, well, go for the other. I mean, Crochet is still a great option. I think I might still prefer him over Ober, so that's fine, but might as well wait on Ober just to see how he does.
There you go. Thank you for the question. And then DJ Andre has 2. First one is Gavin Stone or Sean Mania?
Manea.
Sean Mania.
So I like Mania, Sean Mania.
I like that.
Stone didn't look great. He was okay today, and Manea's been really good. I'm always skeptical about Manea because he's a guy who kind of just profiles more like an innings eater. I mean, he never seems to really fully put it together, right? Now, I do think I've noticed that this spring there was talk, his velocity was up. He's looking better, but I don't know. I think I'm going to go with Stone. I just think he's just a little bit more talented. Maybe Manea does have his best season. Maybe the strikeout rate does go up. But I don't know. He seems to be one of those players, one of those pitchers is just, I think sometimes it's mental with him. I feel like sometimes he just goes out there and he just doesn't have the headspace to do what he needs to do because he's just bad from the jump, right? Sometimes you just know with him, first inning, he's just off, right? And when that happens, you're burned. So I'm going to go Stone.
All right. And then one more asking us, Colt Keith and Victor Scott drops. Are they drops in category leagues?
I'm going to hold Scott because, again, he has been running. He does have a couple steals. I think he can hit. For what you're looking for him, I think he's still going to give you value. So I'm going to hold Scott. Keith, I don't think is as valuable for categories because, 15, 20 home runs, that's fine, but that's nothing spectacular, right? You're not getting a big advantage there. His average will be good, not amazing. Speed, not really a thing. I feel like he's going to be for fantasy 12-team league, just kind of barely above replacement type. So I don't think if it's not a keeper league or anything like that, I don't think Colt Keith is a must hold.
All right, there you go. So hold Scott, Keith. Don't have to. All right, then Harry Grossman has 2. First one is drop. Okay, again, Hook. How come I can't say this guy's name or Whitlock?
You're asking which one to drop or just drop it. I don't know if you have to drop either. They both look good so far. Now I know with Houck it was Oakland, so of course, big grain of salt there. But look, this rotations look good. Boston's pretty strong. I think if you have to drop one for whatever reason, I guess I would drop Houck. I think Whitlock, I feel a little more secure sticking in that rotation, going longer, but I don't think I would drop either if you don't have to.
All right. Hold both if you can. And then he wants to know, should he drop Bo Naylor for Henry Davis?
Nah, that's a guy I'm going to talk about in the video coming out tomorrow. I'm huge on Henry Davis this preseason. I'm not giving up yet. Bo Naylor's not off to like a riveting start. So short answer is yes. I would rather have Henry Davis right now. Now there might be some other catchers out there that could kind of do the job for you better, depending. I don't know if Ohapi or Camposano are available. There's a couple other catchers hitting well, but yeah, I'm still going to keep the faith in Henry Davis.
All right, there you go.
Stubborn.
Hey, sometimes that pays off though, right? Like you can't just it's only been a week. I know it feels like it really does feel like a long time. Like I feel like already in fantasy football we're in like week 3. It's like, how are we already in week 3? And I'm like, man,
patient, being patient, not stubborn, being patient.
Yeah, we're still in week 1. All right, Frank says Peter Fairbanks was dropped. How much fab out of a $100 fab 12-team league would you bid on him?
There's a panic drop. The guy has one bad outing and he gets dropped. He's still the guy in Tampa. Yeah, I would say 12-team, $100 fab. I wouldn't go more than $10, but you can go 8, maybe 8 or 9. See if you get him. There is risk with Fairbanks. Not that he's going to be terrible all year, but always injury risk, always Tampa using a committee risk. But there's no clear successor to him. Didn't Jason Adam and Colin Posh, they both, had bad outings recently as well. So, I think he's still the guy. I think he's still worth adding. So I'd say probably 8 seems reasonable.
All right, there you go. 8, I guess maybe 10 if you want to make sure you get them.
And it also depends how scarce are saves on your waiver wire. Is every guy who's in, possible line for saves already owned? In that case, maybe you go up to 10. But if there's players that get dropped pretty easily like this in your league, then maybe you don't have to rush out, But yeah, I still definitely think he's worth nabbing.
And he's got another question. Luis Rengifo?
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Or Mark Kana? Probably not.
Yeah.
All right. It's a 12-team average OPS league.
It's got to be Kana. OPS, that's more up his alley. Rengifo is a guy that did show some flashes toward the end of last year, rough start this year, and then I think he was banged up too late in the spring. But yeah, I think he's still just kind of a glorified utility guy. Like outside of Trout, and Ohapi to some extent, still the Angels lineup is not going to be the ideal setting here. Kana takes walks. He's pretty good in terms of getting average. And bonus fact, he usually leads the league in hit by pitch, which helps you in on-base percentage. So it's definitely Kana.
All right, there you go. And then Unknown Screwdriver is back saying he made the trade.
Oh.
So it looks like Tyler Wells. Why is this guy in every question? And Oswaldo Cabrera for Kyle Tucker. Like every single one. What is this?
That's funny.
You like that trade?
Okay. I'm trying to remember what the trade was. I know he's talking about getting Kyle Tucker, so he's saying that
he got Tucker, and I think he's saying he gave up Wells, Tanner H, and Oswaldo Cabrera.
If that's the case, well done. That's yeah. You got Tucker for those 3 guys, and I don't know who the Kyle Tucker owner was, but yeah, that's it's time to take yourself a victory lap on that one. Look, Cabrera, those guys aren't even owned in most leagues. Cabrera is now, but they weren't even drafted. Wow. Yeah. Props to you for getting that done. By the way, I looked it up officially. It is Hauk.
Hauk. I'm gonna have to have it open on my computer so I can look at Hauk. Okay. And then real quick, Anthony asking me, how am I enjoying fantasy baseball so far? Like I said, it's definitely slower pace than football. It's like I look and I'm like, nothing has happened. Right? Like football, there's always like somebody got some yards or whatever, right? Or like somebody ripped I look and I'm like an hour later, I'm like, okay, our score is exactly the same as it was an hour ago or whatever. And it probably doesn't help that half my team is on the IL. And I had to use all my waiver ads at the beginning of the week, which was actually a week and a half ago, because I didn't even have enough players. And like, there's been many days where I haven't even been able to field a full lineup because I have too many guys that aren't playing or on IL. So it's definitely been an adjustment, but I'm feeling good. I feel like I'm starting to get a hold of it, and I feel like you guys are going to be in trouble pretty soon. But we'll see.
There you go. Hey, I don't doubt it. Look, in about less than a month, you've already picked up way more knowledge, and it's not just like you're like parroting, like, oh, I heard this, and now like you're getting it. You're picking it up a lot quicker, I think, than most people, which is not surprising. But yeah, I don't think it'd take you too long. I knew this. Just once you got into it, you'd be hooked.
I don't want to say I'm hooked yet. But I don't like to lose. So
there you go.
All right, Brian Looper. What's up, Brian? Good to see you again. Always here. Appreciate you. How are you feeling on Cody Bradford? 2 solid outings against 2 good teams. Would you drop Hunter Brown for Cody Bradford?
Man, Bradford's been surprisingly good, and Brown has been bad. I don't know if we can even say surprising because he wasn't great last year. I really thought he would be a nice breakout candidate this year. I know I wasn't alone there. I mean, talented, but just has not figured it out. So I think we're just going to have to pump the brakes on the Hunter Brown hype for now until something really changes long term. Like, it has to be sustained difference. He's getting hit hard. And he's not even giving up a lot of home runs either. And it's not like he's walking a ton of batters. He's keeping the ball over the plate too much. He just has not figured it out. So can you drop him for Hunter Brown? Yeah, I think you can drop Hunter Brown. Bradford, I'll be cautiously optimistic on. He's not a guy I think has the highest ceiling necessarily, but I think he'll be fine. He's a solid streamer.
All right, there you go. Do it. And then JRE Clips Daily. Someone dropped Luis Robert in my league. You can pick him up.
If you have an IL spot, sure. I mean, I don't know if you do have IL spots, why somebody would just drop him instead of stashing him. But I don't think, I know he'll be out for a little while, right? He's not going to come back real soon, but he's not out for the season unless something happened that I'm not aware of. But yeah, a guy like that, so much upside. Yeah, he's only on the 10-day IL. I think he's definitely worth adding.
All right, go get him. Back-to-back Nate, welcome back. Drop Moreno for Campy in head-to-head category league.
This is tricky. So we had a question, actually I think it was on the Discord. So just the other day, somebody asked me drop Moreno for Ohapi, and I keep mentioning them together, Campusano and Ohapi, because they were my 2 favorite catcher sleepers in the preseason. They're both right now, their rostered rate, at least Yahoo, is almost identical. It's like 67 or 66%. Very simple. And I hate to say it, but okay, so I'm going to talk about Moreno in tomorrow's video. And I'm going to say don't drop probably just yet, maybe. So what that means is if there's a guy like Campusano or Hoppy, I get it. It's so tempting to just say, forget it. I think you can do this. I love Campusano. I know you don't want to wait on a guy who maybe doesn't really have the biggest upside at that position, right? Like a guy like, Francisco Alvarez has 30 home run upside. Moreno, what's his upside? It's really more batting average than power. He might have got a little overhyped, to be honest, because of last year's postseason. So, yeah, I think you can do this. I know I told somebody, like, let's wait a little bit. And now I'm kind of reconsidering. I'm thinking maybe it's not worth holding out on Moreno. So if you do have a better option like Campusano or Ohapi, yeah, I think you can go for it.
All right, thanks for the question. And then David's asking Logan Allen or Cutter Crawford?
I'm definitely going Cutter Crawford here. Crawford, a guy I was big on all throughout draft season. Allen, a guy I've been backing off on. He did look good his first start, but I just feel like he's one of those players that, has the capability to have those disastrous starts. Like when he's off, he gets hit hard, he gets hit hard. So I'm always going to be a little leery on Allen. So easily Crawford here.
All right, easily Crawford. And then let him know, what do you think of Yon Moncada? It's been hitting all week.
I think the bubble is burst on his post-hype breakout potential, years ago. I think it ain't happening. This White Sox offense was bad enough, and now without Robert, it's like, no way. Moncada he doesn't have a home run yet. Doesn't get you any steals. Yeah, I have almost zero interest in Moncada these days.
Oh, there you go. That's what he thinks. Not good. All right, Nick asking Gerald, or I'm not really asking, just saying Gerald Walsh, hot start.
Yeah, Walsh kind of surprising. Even that wasn't for sure he was going to make the roster, and then he's been getting the majority of the play at first base. Of course, Lowe will be back at some point, but not yet. Just keep that in mind. Jared Walsh is a placeholder. When Nate Lowe's back, he'll lose that job. We'll see about Justin Foscue. I really thought he might make the opening day roster. Now, he got called up because of the Young injury, but Walsh is a guy who'll get you some power, but I would just say I would only stream him if you really need him.
All right, then back to Brian. Looks like maybe he's streaming pitcher tomorrow. Would you prefer Javier Assad versus the Padres or Paxton versus the Twins?
I'm going to go Paxton. Paxton definitely a little more talented pitcher here. If he can give you 5 solid innings, sure. Twins offense is not scaring anybody these days, so I like Paxton.
All right, go with Paxton. Got Max go asking purple troll hair guy, Lourdes Gurriel. I don't even know if he still has that hairstyle. I just saw the picture and I was like, that's fantastic. Or Morel, who do you like? I guess are these waiver wire ads, I guess?
Could be. I mean, I don't know. Well, if I had to pick one, a lot of people on Morel. I always feel like Morel's slightly overhyped, and I'm not sure why. He's solid, but I think I like Gurriel's consistency. I know Gurriel I did put as a sell high, but that's just because after 1 week he was leading the majors in hitting, and that Arizona offense was on fire, and that's the type of moment to capitalize on the early season hype in the early season. Like, oh, look at this guy, he's on fire, like as if it's going to keep up all year. But I still like Gurriel a little better than Morel. It's pretty close here, but I do like Gurriel. I think he's definitely going to give you the edge in batting average, that's for sure. I think the power here is going to be close. I mean, I don't know that Morel really gives you any advantage over Gurriel, other than maybe that you can slot him at third base. But I think I do like Gurriel still rest of the season.
And you can't discount the hair. I mean, it's got to give him an edge. Got it.
Yes. Slight edge.
All right. Unknown Screwdriver again. Here's his starters, and I'm guessing does he have Tucker now? Do you have Tucker now? Should he be traded? It's a 15-team points league. Would you be trading any of these guys away? Detmers, Manaea, Pivetta, Luzardo, Crochet, Meyer, Reese Olson.
15 team. Okay, so pretty deep. And obviously you did make some moves already to get Tucker. Look, well, same thing we always say, right? Any sport, any situation, if you can sell high, sell high. Detmer's coming off a really strong start. If you can sell high, sell high. I don't think you're really getting much, honestly, for Manaea, even though he's been good in 2 stars. Still, I don't think you're going to get that much for him. No, I don't think you really need to trade anyone away, except for, like I said, if you can capitalize on Detmers and sell high for a more consistent option, you could do that. That's about it.
All right, and hopefully you added Tucker to this, right? So, all right, Frank says he waited too long to draft catchers. He's got Stevenson and Bailey. It's a 15-team on-base league. So any catchers that might surprise in a 15-team or so.
In a 15-team league? I mean, yeah, we got to get deep here. So who might be available in a 15-team league? Well, I will say this. I still like Stevenson. I don't like him as much as I did a couple years ago. I was really high on him. And, and he never quite put it together. Some injuries and just inconsistency. I still think he's solid though. I mean, he's fine. I think he's fine in a 15-team league. I think you'll be okay with him. Somebody who maybe would be available. I don't know how much he'll play this year, but Freddie Furman, Kansas City, could get by with him. Reese McGuire has seen more time than I really thought. Connor Wong would be the primary backstop Boston. Reese McGuire has been playing a lot, and he's getting on base a decent amount. He's got some power. So if McGuire's out there, you look at him. But the guy who is now looking like a strong waiver wire pickup is in Tampa, Ben Rortvedt. I think Rortvedt, who, if you see him, he basically looks, besides the fact he looks like a young Lou Ferrigno, and he not kidding. Take a look, Ben. Search him up if you can spell his name, Ben Rortvedt. It looks like he's got the strong side of platoon there, and he's got some power. He just didn't quite, make it with the Yankees because Austin Wells is there, and I like Ben Rortvedt. So if he's out there, you can go for him.
All right, a young Lou Ferrigno. I'm going to have to check that out. All right, Alyssa Dolphin Cloud, who I think also joins us for football, doesn't she? I feel like I recognize her. Are you picking up? This is kind of worrisome for me because I have Alexis Diaz. Are you picking up Evan Phillips and dropping Alexis Diaz?
Evan Phillips is just on waivers. I'm picking up Evan Phillips. I'm not dropping Diaz. I don't know if this is like an 18 league, but yeah, neither of those guys should just be out there on waivers considering closers these days. So I'm picking up Phillips and I'm dropping somebody else. You're going to have to tell me how deep this league is. I think it's probably got to be like an 18 league.
Maybe. Does that change? I mean, if it's an 18 league, then in that case, would you drop Diaz for Phillips?
No, I think I'd still pick him up and drop somebody else, but it really depends.
All right, Alberto's saying he lost Bieber. He's got the Orioles catcher as his starter, and he also has Salvador Perez, who I also have, who's been great so far. And he said he's doing good. So should he trade Perez for a decent pitcher?
If you're saying you have Adley Rutschman, then you're good. Put a catcher. Trade Perez and get a pitcher, yes, because you don't need two catchers. I mean, Perez has been good, but obviously pitching is going to be more important. So absolutely, you can do that. Decent pitcher to replace Bieber and who? Who are you really going to get for Sal Perez right now? I mean, I know it doesn't seem ideal, but you can buy low on a guy who, for some reason, has been horrible for his first two starts. And I mean horrible. Is Max Fried. Unless we hear there's something wrong physically. I mean, I don't understand why he's been so horrible. But you can take a chance on him. Let's see. Realistically, what you can get for Sal Perez. I don't want to buy into a guy, like, for example, like a Ronel Blanco. I don't want to buy in on a guy just because of one amazing start, right? Like your early season wonders. I don't want to buy in a guy who's like a waiver wire pickup. So like a Jared Jones for Pittsburgh. Looks great, but it's been two starts, right? He's still a rookie. Let's not go crazy here. So you need somebody who's like solid, but maybe he's underachieved early. So look for honestly, like an SP4 or 5 type, like a back end rotation. Actually, you know what? Bryce Miller, I've been all over Bryce Miller since preseason. Looked amazing his last start. Wasn't great his first start. It's probably still pretty cheap to acquire. So I think maybe somebody like that.
All right, there you go. Hope that helps. All right, Jason asking saves plus hold leagues, Payamps or Martin?
I'm going to go Martin. Martin was really good last year. Should be in line for holds. So I'll give the edge to the guy I trust a little bit more in terms of keeping my ratios nice and tidy.
And then he also asked, At catcher, Garver or Ohapi?
I'm keeping faith in Garver. I like Garver a lot. His lineup spot is good. He's got legit power. Hey, he's been healthy. Just off to a slow start, right? He'll come around. The whole Mariners offense will come around, I think. So I'm still going to give the edge to Garver here.
All right. So Martin and Garver, right? That's where we're going here for JC. All right. Hope that helps. David asking, what would be a decent trade target for Tyler O'Neill? Would you do it for Evan Carter?
That's interesting. These are two of my favorite guys as far as outfield targets, but Carter, you were drafting a lot earlier, so I'd rather have Evan Carter still. Tyler O'Neill, we know the risk is he's had a lot of health issues the last couple of years. I'm still in on Tyler O'Neill, but I'd rather have Evan Carter. So who else as far as O'Neill, like who might be equivalent right now? Let's look at the outfield. I'm assuming you're talking one-to-one, like maybe an outfielder straight up, because otherwise it really depends on team needs and all that stuff. So let's just look at potential outfielders who might be equivalent to Tyler O'Neill, like right now. I think Lourdes Gurriel is pretty fair. I think I might give the edge to Gurriel just because that consistency, that kind of thing. Let's see. Who might be fair? That's the Anthony Santander, maybe Baltimore, somebody along those lines. So, yeah, if you know any like specific players in your league that makes sense, let me know. It'd be easier to answer.
Yeah, those are always tough. And then I got another one for you from Anthony. A serious trade question. Kevin Ginkel, the other guy is Seawald, and Kelly Jansen for Jordan Romano.
Seawald should be back fairly soon. Ginkel, I don't value too much right now. I think right now I would just say I think Romano will be back and should be okay. I think I'd rather have Jordan Romano. If you're asking me between those, the other guy has Seawald. Yeah, I would rather have Romano. Just try to keep Romano and take what he gives me the rest of the season.
All right, so I'm not sure which side Anthony is on there, but the Romano side.
I like the Romano side.
All right, then should we drop Vinny P? Alex wants to know, drop Vinny P.
I was really struggling because I told you I'm gonna put out tomorrow. Do not drop, and I was really struggling with putting him on there because I don't want to drop him. But then I look at it, it's like I get it. Maybe he's not a must hold. So, I mean, I don't want to drop a guy just to drop a guy just because he's had a bad week and a half, whatever it is. If you're going to drop him, do it because you're picking up somebody that's really going to help you. So I want to be patient, but at the same time, if you drop Vinny P, is somebody rushing out to pick him up? Probably not. If he starts hitting, you could probably get him again. So I hate to do it because I like him, but I understand. If you need the roster spot for someone else, you can do it.
All right. And then I think I know the answer to this because, spoiler alert, he's going to be on tomorrow's video. But are you worried about the slow start from Edouard Julien?
No, not too much. It's what it is. It's a slow start. I think a lot of people way overreacted to the fact he wasn't out there opening day, and they realized, oh, it's because there's a left-hander. And yeah, he's not going to get as many plate appearances as we'd like because he's basically going to sit against lefties. But he's still on the strong side of platoon. But what I like best is that when he is in there, he's leading off. That doesn't completely make up for, the sitting against lefties, but it helps. And he's still a talented player. So, nah, I'm not too worried because, as I will explain, it's just a slow start. It's nothing terrible to be worried about. I mean, he's still seeing the ball well. He'll come around.
All right. So no worries yet. And then Alyssa she followed up. It's a 10-team league. He's on waivers. Evan Phillips.
He's still, and I see David, the next gentleman, exactly right. He still should not be on waivers in a 10-team league. If your league count saves, there's no way he should be on waivers. So pick him up. Don't drop Diaz.
Find somebody else. There's got to be somebody else you can drop.
There's got to be somebody.
All right. A few questions here. What do you think about Yandy Diaz? Let's start with that one. What do you think about Yandy Diaz?
He's a stud now. I mean, you keep him in there every day. No worries. He's leading off. He's got power. He's going to hit for average. I mean, Yandy Diaz is pretty much as close to a sure thing as there is. All
right. There you go. That's a nice answer. And then you starting Bo Bichette or CJ Abrams?
It's nice to have that choice. You got to pick just one. Can you slot Abrams like at outfield? I think he should qualify at outfield. Unless your outfield is just that stacked, I would like to start both.
All right.
But I guess if I have to choose right now, I'll go Bichette.
All right. Hopefully you can get both in there. And then he's got Campusano and Real Muto. He's trying to get bench space. Which one would you drop?
You're not dropping Real Muto. I mean, you can trade him. Being one of the top catchers in fantasy for the past few years, you could trade him and get somebody good back. So if you can trade Real Muto, do it. If you really need bench space, I guess you could drop Campusano. But I'm sure somebody could take a stud catcher. So I would try that first.
All right. Try to trade them. Always better to try to trade before you drop if you can. Unless, of course, nobody wants them because they're hurt or bad. All right, and then Alyssa again saying, so here's her worst pitcher is Shota Imanaga. Shota Imanaga would you drop him for Phillips?
I don't want to drop Imanaga. That's your worst pitcher?
That's her worst pitcher, apparently.
Man, you have a hitter you can drop, maybe? I don't want to drop him either.
All right, now we're moving to hitters. Who's your worst hitter?
Yeah, this is exactly right. If that's your worst pitcher, you've got an amazing team.
Yeah, maybe she doesn't even need Phillips. All right, bye with Burdell. So I don't know. What's a trade target for Cronenworth in a 12-team deep league? Runs, doubles, triples, homers, RBIs, film biscuits, lots of saves, holds. All right, there's all the stats. I have Cronenworth. Is he actually worth anything? I just added him off. I added him off waivers.
You did. Well, he's not, going to be a high-end fancy asset these days, but I think you could get something back. It's a deep league, and it does count. I think he's a little more helpful in a league like this, right? Because he'll get you some extra base hits, but not a ton of home runs, but he will get you some doubles. OBP instead of average, he's got some value. It's not going to be crazy. So in terms of a trade target, you're looking for another hitter, I guess I would assume. I mean, I hate to say, it's hard to say without knowing what you need or what you're looking for. But again, realistically, you're not going to be able to get any sort of elite hitter in exchange for him. So maybe you could try to pull off like a Seiya Suzuki, although he's been hot, so I think it might be too late for that. You could try to buy low on a player who's hurt, but I don't know if you really want to do that. Like a Josh Young, but he's going to be out a while, so probably not him. So, I mean, it's really hard to say.
All right. Yeah, I had to pick him up because I had that Matt McClain. I needed a second baseman. He's been pretty good. He's been all right. I don't feel like hitting. Oh, I don't know. My team has a lot of issues right now. Let's move on. And Anthony was saying he wants Romano in that trade, so there you go.
I think you could do that. Yeah. Yeah, he should be back pretty soon.
And now she's saying Luis Campusano. But she wouldn't have any position players left on her bench.
But you already have a catcher that's better, then you can drop Campusano. I would do that. If it's a backup catcher, yeah, you can drop a backup catcher for a closer.
All right, so there you go. So you can drop him. And she's saying she has William Contreras as starting catcher.
Yeah, you can drop Campy.
Okay, drop Campy and pick up Phillips. There we go. We did it. All right. Okay, then 127 has a question we're going to come back to at the end because I want to stick to baseball questions at the moment. So we're going to get back to you, 127 EMH. Just sit tight. All right, Sway 7 even. I don't know what MI is. Middle infielder in a 12-team roto?
Yeah, middle infield.
So drop Rengifo for Caballero.
I'm doing that. I like Caballero. Obviously, I talked about him in the waiver wire video. Looks like he's playing almost every day, which is pretty impressive for Tampa. And Rengifo, I like Caballero. Tim Anderson, I guess he's been not as bad as expected, but still. I like Caballero.
All right, and then Rayek saying thoughts on Byron Buxton or Sterling Marte if they stay healthy. I always like that if they stay healthy.
It's a really, really big if. I like Marte, and I know Buxton. Everyone still imagines what could be, what could have been. Look, honestly, these days, what he is a guy who's not going to help you with batting average. I mean, it's in 230s. Really not stealing bases anymore. It's just kind of devolved into kind of dependent on power. And the injury risk is always like a 9 out of 10 with him. So I'm going to go Marte. I like Marte in general. I think he did have a down season, but he's still got all the tools. He will still get you some steals, some power, and hit for average. So I'll go Marte. Buxton, I think that ship has sailed.
All right, James Coffey, welcome back. Saying in a categories league, would you drop Jake Flaherty, who had a great first start, not so good second start, for Paul Skeens or Ricky Tiedemann?
Tiedemann is very interesting, but way too risky this year because we don't know how many innings he would pitch when he gets the call. He's also a pretty big injury risk. Skeens, yeah. I think as soon as Skeens gets the call, you can drop anybody in a heartbeat to pick him up. It's a little early. I don't see Skeens until at least May, the very least coming up. So I think you can do this, but I don't think you need to do it just yet.
All right. So hold tight. Put Skeens on your watch list. Keep an eye on that. And then David K saying, been following since the Rotoballer days. Very nice. Very nice. Right. And going back to the Tyler O'Neill trade, he said he's looking for ideally second baseman, third baseman, outfielders, high upside that aren't performing right now.
High upside target, second, third outfield. All right. Well, you're looking for somebody who's just out there, or you're talking trade target? Okay, you're saying target. I don't know if you mean waivers or you mean trade.
For Tyler O'Neill. What about George Springer? I don't even know. He's been terrible for me. Isn't he supposed to be good, though?
I mean, as a trade target, yeah, you could get him. Edward Julian's guy we already talked about. Not performing, but he's still got upside. I guess we'll answer both, talking about waivers or trade. So here we go. Guys that are not performing, but that you could get possibly, hopefully. Hassan Kim, not off to a great start, but I think he still gets you some upside. Gleyber Torres, despite the Yankees being hot, he's been cold. Should not be dropped anywhere, but if you can buy low on him, I think he's a guy I'm going to talk about this week. So I think you can target Gleyber Torres. And then let's talk third base. Guys who are not off the hot starts. Don't think Ellie De La Cruz is ever going to be a buy low candidate, but hey, you never know. You could always try. Really not a lot. Third base is just not deep in general. And I said this all preseason. So not a lot of great targets there. But Kim might be the one, I think, if you're looking for a trade. Outfield, let's see. Yeah, Springer does make sense. I wasn't crazy about Springer heading into the season anyways, but he surely will do better. So, I mean, I think he's somebody you could potentially buy low on. And then Marte, just talked about him. I think he's a good target. Evan Carter, I think, is still a buy low. He's still only hitting 208, no home runs yet. I'm definitely in on Evan Carter, so I think that's a good target right there.
All right, there you go. There's some good choices for you. And then unknown screwdriver, humble brag. He's got Schwarber, Tucker. Wants us to know he's got Schwarber, Tucker, Acuna, Kirilloff, Josh Bell, Jackson Merrill, Bergman, Albies, Justin Turner, and Salvi. How about that?
Good squad. And if I remember, the kids, it's a points league. Yeah, you pulled up a heist in that trade to get Tucker. I'm not sure how you did that.
And then speaking of Kirilloff, Tom wants to know, is he worth a shot or is he going to get hurt?
He could get hurt. Can't say he won't get hurt, but hey, so far so good. Obviously, he was one of the guys I talked about in the waiver wire video. I'm in. He's one of those guys that I've been in on the last 2 years and just it hasn't come together, mainly because of injuries. So I'm going to kind of tentatively go in on him again until he gets hurt. But yeah, hey, he's looking good. But what I like is the approach change, and I talked about this in detail. So far, obviously just in like 10 days, but he's not selling out for power. He's hitting for average. The power is there. The power will come, but he's not just pulling the ball. He's not just trying to lift the ball, and the power will come. And what's interesting with him, I didn't even realize till I dug into it. Almost all his power, his home run power, is opposite field. So he really doesn't need to pull the ball. He's hitting line drives, and he makes good contact. The home runs will come. So yeah, I think he's definitely worth a shot. The upside is there.
All right, and then Buy with Burdell has a question about Ashcraft, who I feel like you talked about in the offseason. Wants to know why he's only 6% rostered. He had 15 quality starts last year, and in the second half, when he came back from injury, he had a 2.58 ERA.
Yeah, it's funny because last year there were a ton of, as you call it, like influencers, fantasy analysts, and people talking about him because stuff, right? He has stuff. His stuff plus was one of the best. Like, he was being underrated, and he just needs to put it together. He throws hard, and he just didn't get enough strikeouts. Like, it'll come. But from 22 to 23, in a year's difference, he was one of the biggest fallers in stuff plus. So I don't know if he just had overachieved or something happened. Maybe it was the injury. Okay, blame whatever. But he's been on the decline in terms of stuff. Horrible ballpark, we know this. And he relies on this is why it's hard for me to really buy into like Brady Singer fully, is because these are guys who are more like sinker pitchers, rely really on batted ball luck. They try to induce grounders, not high strikeout pitchers. It's just going to be a lot of ups and downs. There's going to be a lot of ups and downs with him. So, yeah, he just hasn't seemed to really put it together. He'll have a stretch maybe when he looks good, but between the injuries and the park and the batted ball, fluctuations, yeah, I think I'm pretty off of him.
All right, well, there you go. And then Sway 7 even has another one. Is Von Grissom worth stashing in a 12-team roto league?
Definitely. Stash him now. Get him now. Going to be a guy that say get him now because story out. Who knows how long. He's going to come back soon. I like Von Grissom a lot. Yeah, get him now.
All right, stash him. Brandon wants to know, should he get Jeff McNeil from waivers, and what is a bad batting average? I have that question too because I feel like my whole team is batting under 250, and that used to be like wasn't that like the Mendoza line? Like you can't bat below 250 in Major League Baseball and have a job for very long. My whole team is batting under 250. What's a bad batting average these days?
The Mendoza line is 200. And
okay,
now realistically, it should be called like the Gallo line because a guy like Joey Gallo, like that's his batting average. Mario Mendoza, I think, hit like 213 for his career or something like that. But anyways, yeah, 250 is about right. I know you're going to ask what's bad. Anything below 240 is probably bad. I think that's what the league average is nowadays. So, yeah, when you start getting 230s, 220s, that's bad. Jeff McNeil, will he help? Yeah, he can probably help with batting average. That's kind of it. So there's got to be probably somebody more exciting you can get.
All right. David also wants to know what's your thoughts on Brett Beatty. He's been hitting third, fourth, fifth in the lineup. Do you think he can give 25 homers with at least a 260 average?
I'm about to put him on my next list to recommend because what I actually like the best is he's been hitting cleanup, which is really interesting. It looks like they moved Alonso up in the lineup and they're having Beatty hit cleanup. So, yeah, he was on the which one is it, Chris? If you remember, we put Beatty on the cover. The post-type breakout, is that what it was? Post-type
breakouts? I don't remember. We did so many videos. I don't remember which video he was on.
Post-type breakouts. Look, you can only talk about sleepers so many ways. But a guy who it didn't happen last year, everyone's going to forget about him. And then now we're like, oh, yeah, that's right. He was a really big prospect. And, yeah, he's supposed to be really good. So, yeah, I'm almost there with Beatty. I'm very close to saying go pick him up.
All right, and then Samuel wants to know, what do you think of Willie Casto and Parker Meadows? He's thinking of dropping one or both of them for Conforto and or your boy Stanton.
Yeah, it's hard to be patient here. I like Parker Meadows a lot, but man, how much worse can you start the season? So you can get Conforto or Stanton, just go ahead and do it. In fact, you can probably drop Castro too. He'll get you some steals once in a while, but I'd rather have probably both. So yeah, go ahead and wait. You're not losing anything major with those two guys. So I would say drop both to get both.
All right, there you go. Go ahead with it. And then Brandon, to kind of follow up, says, how far into the season until you start paying attention to average? He wants to be patient with his guys batting below 200, but like, at what point do you say, like, okay, I've had enough?
At least a month. And even then, just know that what happened in April is not what's going to happen in May. It's always going to fluctuate. So wait at least a month before you even start making judgments on batting average, but always look, because we always look at season-long stats with baseball. It's a roller coaster. It's always about ups and downs and streaks. So yeah, I would say it's going to be a little while for sure.
And then another one here from Gamaxco. He's got Schwarber, Gurriel, Tucker starting at outfield with Real utility, and got Conforto, Morrill, and Abrams on the bench. Anything you would change there?
So you have Real Muto at the utility spot. Who's your catcher? Did he already say this? Maybe he already said this. I don't remember.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's fine. You probably want to find a way to get Abrams in there eventually. If you already have a stud catcher who somehow is better than Real Muto, then make a trade here, try to improve at pitching or something, and put Abrams at utility. But I think that's fine for now.
All right, then the final question. Well, we say that and then questions come in, but question of the day. 127 EMH. If you're grilling, are you going gas or charcoal?
I always prefer charcoal. I've gone gas for my most recent grill just because that's what it was, but I think you can't beat charcoal.
You can't beat you're right. You can't beat charcoal, but these days I just go with gas because it's just so much easier. And
it's easier, I know, but
it's easier, and I will say one thing about like the gas grills is you gotta learn, like, they don't always seem to. You think they would heat evenly, but they really don't. So you got to find like what areas of the grill are hotter or not as hot, and that's kind of annoying. But once you figure that out, gas is so easy, right? You just turn the thing on, hit a button
Yeah.
and it lights up. You don't have to deal with like the lighter fluid and all that. So certainly charcoal is I think gonna give you a better flavor. It's gonna be better, but I'm at the point in my life now where I'm like, gas is good enough.
Yeah, I know. It's like, let's just get it done. What's easier? But
exactly,
it should be charcoal.
Exactly.
But good question. Always a good question.
All right, one more, of course, at the last second here. James Coffey again. Starting pitcher for the Astros, Hunter Brown, was dropped on waivers. Is it a good idea to pick him up?
And I understand why, but let's wait. Let's wait on him and see. He's going to have to show something consistently. So just hold off.
All right, everybody. Appreciate you being on here. Another good show. A lot of great questions. Another reminder, if you haven't yet and you want to try Underdog, this is the time to do it. What's going on? I'm struggling. Okay, I can't pull it up for some reason. You'd think I would know how to do this by now. But anyways, maybe it's right there. There it is. There's the Underdog. If you want to try it out, and like I said, they have the Steph Curry, and they'll have new customer specials. So if you're watching this tomorrow or the day after, they have new customer specials. And I know it's not baseball, but it's fine. It's like he needs half a point. You just pick the higher and don't worry about it. And then you go try Underdog, although it looks like all the games have started today, so you're going to have to wait till tomorrow. But they have this every day. It's a ton of fun. Use promo code ENDGAME. Get that deposit match. All right, 1 week in the books. It was a good first week. Pierre, any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
Tell you, I already did the waiver wire video. If you haven't obviously seen it, check that out. Tomorrow I'm going to tell you who to not panic about. Sometimes it's all about the moves you don't make. And staying patient. I know it's hard, but it's a long season, so keep that in mind.
All right, guys. We'll see you, I'm sure, sometime during the middle of the week here for an update. And then, of course, again, back here on Sunday, and check out the videos. If this is your first time watching and you haven't yet, subscribe, hit that like button. We appreciate you.